Spring is one of my absolute favorite times, and the main reason, well, it is turkey time, and I love turkey hunting. Now this episode, I'm headed to South Dakota, and I'm going after turkeys on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation. Now I was pretty excited, and actually the way I got hooked up to come back here turkey hunting, well, I was on a whitetail hunt earlier in the year, shot a beautiful, nice 6x6 buck, and got to be good friends with Ben Bearshield. Now Ben invited me back, and he is an incredible turkey hunter. Ben does a lot of turkey hunting and a lot of turkey watching out in South Dakota.
Basically, I started turkey hunting, I'd say probably about 10 years ago, and we do it every year, and we do it pretty much as we can. I've got, brothers and my sister like to hunt, so we get after it as much as we can. When we're not working, we'll get together and, go out and hunt and kill a few birds.
Now the nice thing about South Dakota is the fact that you can get several tags. You can get tags in the state part of South Dakota, but we were hunting on the Rosebud Reservation. Now how the Rosebud Reservation works is you get 2 tags as part of your first set. Then once you get those turkeys, if you'd like, you can turn it in, and if more tags are available, you can take another 2 turkeys. So it really makes it well worth the trip, and let's face it, there are a lot of turkeys out here.
Well, the first morning, we got in there in the dark, and we didn't quite get as close as we wanted to, but we got, close enough to where, he could work to us.
As the turkeys came closer, we had a decoy out and we're doing some calling. But these two, well, they were kind of off in their own world. In fact, well, something was going on that I had never seen before. I've done a lot of turkey hunting, but I have never seen a hen spin a tom in circles like what was going on. This hen literally had him spinning round and round and round. I thought he was gonna get too dizzy and tip right on over. But no one knows what she was doing, but the good thing she was doing, she was bringing him right to us. Wow.
Good shot.
Look at the fin. Now, look at that.
He's got big spurs on him too, look at that.
Holy cow.
Probably a 4-year-old bird.
That is awesome. When he was coming in, this one feather, I almost thought he was actually missing some in the middle.
I've never seen that before. Got that those white little bars in there.
That is really cool. And yes, these are some nice spurs. I didn't even get the chance to look at them. I mean, right from the time he flew down, he was breeding hens basically. He had, what, 2 hens with him?
Yep, there's 2 hens, and they tangoed for about the first 20 minutes of the hunt.
Have you ever seen him spin
He's got to
around?
be pretty worn out by now. It's a unique bird, that's for sure.
Well, we're out here hunting on the Rosebud, and this has just been an awesome hunt. I've been lucky enough to come out here deer hunting, and now I've got my first turkey down.
We'll see if we can find another one.
Sounds good. Well, this one's pretty sweet.
This segment was brought to you by U.S. Sportsman's Alliance. Our heritage, our fight. Protecting hunting from coast to coast.
One of the main goals I had on this South Dakota hunt was to try to fan in a turkey. I've seen the footage, Ben told me about all the great stories about it, and I was really hoping it would happen. But the hard part is, well, fanning is just like decoying in a deer. It doesn't always work. You've got to hit them at the right time of the day, and you've got to get a gobbler in the right mood. So we were gonna try it, but so far, we weren't having any luck.
You've got birds that are henned up, it gets hot, it starts raining, gets windy, for whatever reason, they might not want to work in. So it can work, but it can also work against you because sometimes the birds get intimidated by it or they'll get scared of it.
One of the great things about hunting the Rosebud Reservation is the fact you have so much land to hunt. The turkeys, well, they're abundant, but when the weather's hot, it doesn't matter how many turkeys there are, most of them do not want to call back, and they really don't want to do a whole lot of anything. But we weren't going to give up. I knew the mornings and evenings would probably be the best, but we were there on a turkey hunt, so I wanted to spend my time throughout the day turkey hunting. So Ben and I, we were putting on the miles, walking up the hills, glassing, trying different things just to see what would work.
Well, yeah, we've been hunting in some tough conditions, probably the toughest conditions I've ever hunted in. I know I've hunted in the the low 80s before, but never nothing in the 90s. And I know for sure I looked at the thermometer there a couple of times during the day and it was in the low 90s. So really what happens when it gets that hot is these birds, they seem to shut down about an hour after they come off the roost. What we'll do is we'll kind of find a high spot, or we'll find a spot where we know the birds frequent, and we'll basically glass them and kind of see what they're doing and how they're acting, where they're going, and you kind of make a strategy off of what you see.
Midday, we decided we've got one field that the turkeys were definitely frequenting, so we were just going to set up, put our decoys out. Looking at them up close, the two really had me puzzled. They had full fans, but little Jake beards, and one even had a double beard sticking out. But from what I could tell, I couldn't see any spurs. It was really tempting, but I decided after looking at them close, these are Jakes, and they just happen to have full fans. But they were completely fooled by our decoys. So we got them gobbling and gobbling and gobbling, hoping it would maybe attract some other birds in the area. And sure enough, I looked over to the side and a big old longbeard had popped out of the timber and let out a gobble. I figured with the Jakes on our decoy, it was game on. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. He was a little bit hesitant, but still coming our way. The Jakes were going to town on the decoy, and as he got closer and closer, I still didn't have a shot because he was just too far over, and I assumed he'd eventually come into the decoys. But as he came closer, I don't know if these Jakes had beat him up before or what the problem was. He ended up going back in the timber, and I had no shot. The Jakes, well, they were still going to town on the decoys and eventually left. But unfortunately, that big longbeard, he was just too spooked by the Jakes, and sometimes that happens.
This segment was brought to you by Boss Buck. For the most user-friendly and dependable feeder on the market, choose Boss Buck feeders. Now you're getting serious. Winchester Deadly Passion is presented by Cuddy Back Digital, Hard-Hitting Easton Arrows, Hunter's Safety System, Winchester Repeating Arms, Swarovski Optic, Scent Killer Gold with Hunt Dry technology. Apply it, dry it, and go hunt. Rage Broadheads, leading the evolution in lethal technology. U.S. Sportsman's Alliance, protecting hunting from coast to coast. And Golden Triangle Whitetail, your hunt of a lifetime awaits.
Trying fanning, we were glassing, just everything we did, even if we could see a turkey, they just weren't coming in. So that evening, we decided we're gonna find some birds and roost them. That way we have a good spot to set up in the morning. So we found a great roost tree, watched them, and we couldn't really figure out a good way to get in close to these birds. So we thought we're just gonna sit back and watch, and the next morning, we're going in after them.
We'll be able to get right in below them.
So you're thinking just getting in that brush in the morning?
Yeah, see that kind of that dark brush on the left there?
Mm-hmm.
Over here, just left of the green tree, right in there. And then there's like a 50-yard opening that follows that ridge line below it. And we'll just put the decoys out there and wait for them to fly down.
Well, that morning, we set up not too far away from the fence gap. Now, Ben knows the area extremely well and said a lot of times these birds will come down, they'll fly down, and they head right through that fence gap. So that's where we were set up. Right on cue, these birds flew down, and as they were heading toward the fence gap, well, there were a ton of deer out in the field next to us. And when that wind switched and one of those deer got our wind, well, they busted out just about the same time these gobblers were coming down right in front of us.
Unfortunately, they kind of run in the direction of the turkeys, and then I hear the turkeys start popping, and they kind of just screwed it up for us. I think if they would have waited about 30 seconds, we would have got it done before they would have seen something. But you know, that's the way it goes. You set up in good habitat like that, you got deer and turkeys all mixed in one. You got a lot of eyes, and it's kind of tough, you know, keeping yourself concealed.
One of those things, you have the perfect setup, you're all ready in the morning, you think it's a given, it's gonna work, and it doesn't. That's one of the good and bad things about hunting in a game-rich area. The deer can bust you right alongside the turkeys when you're trying to get in close to one of those gobblers. Well, that was close. They were coming. I think they'd have been right in our lap.
Yeah, they were. We had the perfect setup, probably 30 yards from the gate that they come through, and it was working like we wanted it to, but as you can see, the deer come
there were
from
a
the north.
lot of deer.
Yeah.
I think they must have just got our wind down.
Yeah.
They were all out in that field. And those hens, I mean, they were coming right in. There was a bearded hen.
Gobblers were right behind them in tow.
Well, that's the way it works sometimes. Bad timing, I guess. What do you want to try now, you think?
Well, when we were sitting there, I could hear a couple gobbling here to the west, so or to the east. So we'll just work our way that way and see if we can get a visual on one, and we'll just try working him in.
At least now it's still cool.
Yeah.
We got maybe
we
about
need to
2
get moving
hours
because
left.
we got about an hour left before it's 90 degrees.
Winchester Deadly Passion is presented by Winchester, the American legend. Matthews, catch us if you can. Field and Stream, where traditions begin. ScoutLookWeather.com. Download the free Deer Log app for your smartphone. Moose Utility Division, demand the brand. Bog Pod, versatility defined. M&P by Smith & Wesson. And Boss Buck, for the most user-friendly and dependable feeder on the market. Now you're getting serious. Closed captioning is brought to you by the 4-in-1 Woodsman from Zippo Outdoor.
I've had great luck blind hunting. I do a lot of bow hunting for turkeys, and if you can get that blind into an area where you know they're coming through, it's great because you can put your decoys out, you can get all situated, and you can really watch the show. And that's my favorite part about turkey hunting, is seeing them come into your decoys and getting a big flock of decoys out, and also getting all my cameras up. So we decided now we're gonna change it up a bit and go sit in a blind. So we put all our decoys out, and I littered the area with cameras. I wanted to make sure to capture this from every angle possible. But we were there pretty early because we didn't want to have the chance of spooking any turkeys that could potentially come in. We got there apparently a little too early, because by the time we finally got a gobble and had a gobbler coming in, all my cameras were dead. But that's pretty typical. The camera in the blind was still good, so as we called, this gobbler was going crazy, back and forth, and my heart was pounding. nothing like having them in close.
That worked just like we thought it would.
I think he would have stayed all day if
He
we
would
let him
have.
go.
He'd be here for half an hour if we let him.
I waited for quite some time, and then I'm like, oh, he wouldn't clear that decoy. The last thing I wanted to do was put a big hole in the side of my decoy.
I know.
I actually was starting to think that he was going to be a double beard. Well, he just got one.
It was kind of
almost split
separated
in
there as he came in. I thought it was two.
Boy, was I shaking. You know what? It's awesome calling him in from that far, but boy, do you get shook up on it. Just a nice fan. Wow, that was awesome. Nice thick beard.
Two-year-old bird.
That is awesome. And you know what the coolest part is? It's not the end of the day, and Martin still has a tag.
Yeah,
so.
we still got some time left, so we'll go
that's
see if we
awesome.
can get another one.
After putting my two birds down, I decided it was time to switch gears. Martin, my cameraman, also had a couple of tags, so I let him get up for the hunting, and I went behind the camera.
Well, after Melissa killed her bird, we were sitting down around and kind of talking about the hunt, and I looked over on the ridge to the south about half a mile, and we seen some birds working down a ridge. So we went after them, and basically the strategy on this hunt was just to get in and fan them. As we set up, the turkeys were right there. Ben put that fan up, and those turkeys saw it and started coming in. Unfortunately, we didn't have much cover. It worked, they came in, but when they come around the tree, they seen something that just wasn't right, and it was enough to keep them at a little distance. The way we were set up, both Ben and I could see the turkeys, but Martin was just a little off to my right and had a different angle than the camera, and that big tree was right in his way. All these turkeys had to do was step out a little further, and it would have been all over, but not today. So the next morning, we got all set up near a roost, and of course the birds went off the opposite side, but we did spot one lone gobbler and a hen taking off in their own direction, so we decided this was the perfect opportunity to make a move. So we skirted around the side, got in front of them, and set up just on the back side of a hill. Now, as that big gobbler came right over the edge, it was really cool. It couldn't have worked out any better, and we were barely hidden. But the good thing is, well, this turkey, he was all focused on the decoy and never even saw us. Got my slipped in. Anyways, I guess you got jealous, didn't she? I think our timing was about perfect on him.
That was awesome, man. I've never fanned in a bird before, but Ben just showed us how it was done, and it worked well. Speaking of fans, he's got a nice one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Full. He's not
Big
missing any
bird.
feathers.
What's he got for spurs?
Looks like he's
Not
a
bad
2-year-old
spurs.
bird.
Not too bad.
Yep.
Decent little beard too. I could see it on the when he was silhouetted up there on the skyline. That was pretty cool. That sun behind him.
Yeah.
Anyway, that worked out good. Ben's been telling us about fanning these birds out here in South Dakota. We're on the Rosebud, and we've tried it 2 or 3 times, and it's actually worked out pretty well. We just hadn't got shots, or the birds just didn't commit, but we got it done.
I was happy to be able to get him that last bird because it was kind of a long week with the weather and the birds not working. So when we were able to get his, it kind of capped off the kind of icing on the cake.
Follow Melissa on Twitter at Melissa Bachman and on Facebook at facebook.com/Winchester Deadly Passion for behind-the-scenes footage, photos, giveaways, and much more.